the budget
This
as
is
pets.
the
But
District
let's talk about
7670 Assembly.
what
for
is in the budget.
pre-pets.
Where does the money come from? And
The
that's it on
speaker
the
is
first
Billy
page.
Blank, District
Your
Trainer.
dues are $45 a year. Somebody asked me that question the other day. It came through the Pets website. They're sending you information because you're coming to Pets. So that's how much the dues are, and it's about $99,000. Fees for events, such as this one. How much did this
We
one
are in
cost
the
you?
process of approving the
Zero. We
district
try to make
budget
free pets
review
nothing.
to be
But I think
elected
we're
in
going to have to charge
pre-pets.
for the May event. We try to charge just to cover our food costs, but we'll see what we can do. But we have those kinds of events, grants management seminar, foundation seminar, membership seminar, different things through the year, and those are fees coming from you. District conference is separate. We think what we'll bring in about $31,000. The foundation, when you all pay for the foundation, it brings in about $71.50. RILA brings in $35,000 for a total income of about $166,400. That's an approximate. You may have something slightly different because this budget has been punched up a bit since I did this slide. We do, according to our bylaws of 7670, we must keep a reserve of $75,000. We have that. We are following the bylaws. When we get above that, we turn it back over to the current district governor so they can spend it on things like training. Where does the money go? We put some money in, $22,000. It's actually $10 a person, so that the district conference doesn't have to, when we have guests and things like that, we all are helping pay for that district conference. RILA, we help subsidize RILA. Lots of things that are going on with the youth we subsidize. Isaac is going to do membership grants this year, so keep that in mind and listen for that. And the foundation committee puts on the banquet, and they also have some money for awards. Where does the money go? Continuing, we have public image and web support. We have to pay for our website. We have to pay for DAC TV, office expenses, executive secretary, financial review. Every year we do a financial review. We're required by law. We have to do a tax return. District governor support, and then we put money in for contingency because we never know what's going to happen in a year, and we try to have a little money in there. Okay, so that's the budget. Any quick questions I can field? Everybody has one. Put it in the front of your notebook. Yes, ma'am. I can put this out on the website. Okay, yes. The question was, can we have a copy of this presentation? I can put it out on the website, and I'll send you an email to tell you. I might have to put it in Google Docs, so it might be too big. Okay, so you are going to take this home and study it. If you're not a financial guru, that's okay. Just look at where we're spending the money and see if it's all appropriate. All right, district grants. Yes, sir.
You have this comment that at test they have to vote on the budget?
I said that.
Oh, okay.
I did. It's your job to vote as as president-elects, not the president nominees, just the president-elects, vote on it. So if you don't get to vote, Douglas, he didn't hear me. You don't get to vote because you won't be at Pets. Okay, I don't get to vote either. Okay, district grants. We have to talk a little bit about the foundation today because your district grants are due before our next big meeting in May. We will be together in Pets, but we're not going to talk about district grants then. Those of you that went to the grants management seminar, your club is eligible. So let's talk about district grants for the coming year. In May, you have to apply for them, and I would start thinking about it now, fleshing it out with your president-elect, president nominee, and your current president. You should do a needs assessment. Let's say that all the Asheville clubs decide to get together and buy flip-flops for all the kids, every senior in Asheville. Well, if you do a needs assessment, you will find that that is probably not the #1 need of children in Asheville. So you really do need to do a needs assessment. Is your club going to do the needs assessment? Paul, is your club going to do the needs assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps. Where else might you get a needs assessment from? Nonprofits, where else? The city, the county, social services. They're always required by law to do needs assessment. So instead of trying to do one yourself, although the Astro Club is pretty big and Mike can handle that, some of us are pretty small and we could not handle doing a needs assessment. So find somebody in your community that does a needs assessment and ask them to share it with you and say, where we have about this amount of money to spend in our community, where would it best be spent? So do a needs assessment because we don't always know what's appropriate. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that a group of area clubs could do a combined grant
Absolutely.
request. If a club is not qualified for having attended the grants management seminar, can they still participate in a coordinated group effort?
That is yes and no. Yes, they can participate and they can put their club money in, but they would not get the matching funds because they did not go to the grants management center. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. You have to submit it on DAC-DB, and we're going to talk about DAC-DB a little bit later, but there's no other place. You can't fill it out in paper. You have to go on DAC-DB to the grants tab and complete it. You must have it completed no later than May 15th. May 16th, we're going to say, I'm sorry, you cannot complete a grant. We will not approve it. Keep in mind that we're all volunteers too. So those of us that are looking at the grants have to have time to look at them, approve or disapprove, get back to you for further information, and get it all submitted to the Rotary Foundation in order for us all to start on time. So if your club decides to dawdle and not start until May 14th, and you say, oh, I need more time, I can't get in the tool, that DAC-DB I can't get, well, we're going to tell you, I'm sorry. If you don't know how to use DAC-DB, start in April. And then give me a call, give Margaret a call. There's several of us that could help you. But don't wait till May 14th and then say, we need more time. Be considerate of those of us that are working on the other end of the stick. And you had a question.
Actually, just a statement to go along with what you said about starting early. This is our club's first year of having a grant, and the folks that I worked with last year are fantastic about helping. So just call and ask questions. You could not ask anything any more clueless than I asked last year, and they got me through every single part of it. And our club is moving forward with our project, and we're buying books for kids in our county, in Swain County. But I would start like Monday. Because I went to the training, and I'm not sure exactly how I got the dates scrambled, but somehow it was like April, and time goes really, really quickly. So start quick and ask lots of questions if you have them. Because they, Jennifer and Mary stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step, and it wasn't bad at all.
Thank you, Cynthia. That is very true, and the time does go quickly, and we'll talk about time a little bit more later. But you are only president-elect, and this is something you need to do and to head up before your year even begins. So when you go back, start thinking about it. They have to be completed May 15th. They must be electronically signed by your current governor, your current president, and you. So where's the guy that's a repeat that's having...
George.
Okay, we got a couple repeats, so your name goes in twice, and I'll have to figure out how that happens, because it may not like it. But even though your grant has to be in by May 15th, do not start your grant until we tell you it's okay. We have to combine them all, not we, there is a person out there that combines them all together, figures out how much money that is, puts it in the correct form, and sends it to the Rotary Foundation. Then the Rotary Foundation looks at it and asks questions back and forth, and then if all of our grants are up to date, it gets approved. If you start your grant, Jason, before we tell you to start, what happens?
You don't get the money.
No, it's not a may or may not. You will not get reimbursed, right, Lenny? You will not, and this has happened twice. In the last year, we looked at their receipts and we said, you started this June 15th. And we were not approved until July 7th. And we denied the grant approval. So some of you may just be asking for $500 and it's no big deal, but if you're asking for $2,000 from a club my size, that's a very big deal. Do not start until we tell you that the grant, not just your grant, but the big grant has been approved by the Rotary Foundation. Okay, maximum that you can request is $2,000. This is not an outright grant. You have to match it. So your grant has to be at least $4,000 in order to get the $2,000. So it might be $10,000 and you're requesting $2,000, but you only get $2,000 and it must be matched by the club. Does everybody understand that?
Say that again.
Okay, you get $2,000 from district designated funds, but it must be matched by the club. So in order to get $2,000 district designated funds, it has to be at least a $4,000 project or bigger. You can do bigger, you can't do smaller. You can't do a $3,000 project and ask for $2,000.
So
Okay,
you got a $2,000 maximum for the amount of money you're going to get, and you got a $4,000 minimum for the amount of what you're going to get.
Thank you, Duncan, well said. Okay, it should be in an area of focus. Areas of focus, you can probably make things fit in any of the areas of focus. If you don't know what an area of focus is, we have a piece of paper in your book and we'll go over those. Grants can be local or international. Highlands Mountaintop does some wonderful work in Bolivia. They could work with Highlands Mountaintop, Silva, Franklin, and do a $20,000 international grant.
But we still only get $2,000.
You only get $2,000,
Each
he
club
gets
gets
$2,000, she gets $2,000, okay? That's how the money gets really big.
Yeah, let's do that. We're already doing it. Yeah, cool.
Okay, and clubs are encouraged to work together. And Isaac's goal is to get every club to do something. If you're a very small club and some of your clubs are under 20 and you may only have 10 active members, that's okay. You might only do a $500 grant and get a $1,000 grant and get $500 from DBF. Don't leave money on the table. It's like leaving IRA money from your business on the table. You got to take whatever's offered. Okay, only 2 things that you have to do. You had to have gone in August to the Grants Management Seminar. And if you don't know if you went, send Margaret a little note and she has a list of all the people that went. And somebody from your club had to have gone and they need to help you work on this. And you have to have $100 per capita in the year coming up. This year ending, Bill Biddle's year. So if you're not $100 per capita, even though you've gone to the Grants Management Seminar, and even though we might have tentatively approved your grant, we'll say, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Okay? Those 2 things must be met. Alrighty. So inside before we go inside, there's one more piece of paper on your tabletop before we move on. It's called a Rotary Scavenger Hunt. And Isaac said I could do this. And then one of the reasons I'm doing it is because Sean Gibson was one of my presidents, as was George over here, David Wagner. And they said this was one of the most important things for them to do. It's simple and it's fun and it gives you a leg up. If only president-elects have it, because only president-elects are eligible, it's only 1 page. If they didn't get it, Sean, they're on the top of the table. Oh, I might have given the assistant governors some so they would know what the heck I was talking about. But there's only 1 page. John, would you help with unscramble? There's only 1 page, so you need 2 pages. Okay, what we'll do is at our break, we'll make sure you have both pages. Okay, let me talk about this for a minute. Can I have you back? 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, can't go off and spit. My bad, I passed them out. I didn't know they weren't double-sided. Okay, so the front, who's got a front? All right. Well, no. Okay.
Printer did that.
That would be him. Speaking of which, you knew that I took over from Jack like 6 weeks ago. And I went to John and said, John, can you help me get this done? He has printed every piece of paper in front of you. He got the notebooks. he printed, he stuffed, everything. Thank you, John. Yeah.
Hey, Billy?
Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
question. You went kind of fast. Whenever you said previously to get a district grant, you must have $100 per capita for the club for
This year for foundation. And it's the annual fund. It doesn't count your Polio Plus money. It doesn't count bequests. So make sure that it's the annual fund. Yes, ma'am.
How long a period of time do you have to spend the grant money?
You have until the next May 1st. And it must be completed and all your documents inside it.
So
And I-
it's about 9 months?
One rotary year.
Yeah, it's about 9 months because you can't start until July 15th, somewhere around in there, and you have to really wind it up by April. And this kicks out a lot of your summer reading programs. I'm sorry, but you can't spend the money. And there are several of you that do those. Yes. Okay. The question is, this is our first year. She's talking about this year because she's already finished it. You go back to DAC-TV, you go to the grants tab, you edit the final grant, and it actually puts in what you put there. But it's in, you know, we will do this, and you have to put in, we did this. Because sometimes you do something slightly different. You know, you had to feed 100 people instead of 50 people. So tell what you actually did, upload all of your receipts, and then there's a final place to sign it. When you sign it, it sends notification. Go ahead and send one to Margaret and to Carol King and say, we think we're done, and that way it will trigger them. And they'll get on there and say, no, you're not quite done, you need A, B, and C. But go ahead and send an email so that because you think you're done. And since it's your first one, you may not be. But you can get reimbursed like August 1st. If you get your things, the Rotary Foundation sends money and Lenny puts it in a bank account. Lynn puts it in a bank account. And he waits for he waits for approval from the. Okay, so, but essentially, when you're done, do it, because the people out there don't want to be, the people that are approving your grants don't want to be doing them all May 1st. That's ugly. So as soon as they're done, let us know. Okay, so let's look at the scavenger hunt. There are some things on here. It says complete as many as possible between now and pets. The clock is ticking. You must submit this sheet to your AG to get credit before lunch on Friday. The maximum number of points you can score is 110. If you achieve a score of 110, you'll be eligible to win a $50 gas card. We're going to put all the eligibles in a hat and pull one. And if you score 100 or higher, we'll get you a little thing pin that says President underneath. So it's just a little bribe to help you do what you have to do anyway. So the first one is complete the planning guide. The second one is go to Rotary.org and register. You should have done that before you came here. Complete the Rotary Club Central. And then number 4 is assign a member of your club to be the primary contact for the district card champion and enter them on DAC-TV and put them here. Your assistant governor will then log in and make sure you have a card person. While they're there, they'll make sure you have a public image of whatever's on the back that you don't have. So Friday lunch to your AG, okay? It's just kind of a fun way to do the things you have to do anyway. So we've gone over the budget that's in front of you. We've gone over the scavenger hunt that's in front of you, and you should have inside your booklets the agenda. We are now to the place where we're going to talk about what's in the President's Manual. If you are a President-elect, you have a President's Manual. And Vicki and Roger, they only send me one per club. I think I gave it to Vicki.
We wrote that.
No, a President's Manual inside, behind tab number 4.
We can share.
Okay.
That's good, you gave it to Vicki.
Now, you can download that, Vicki, if you want a copy of your own. It can be easily downloaded from Rotary Club Central. Okay, now, we used to hand these and a public image and a membership. I mean, there was a whole packet of things that we would hand to the President-elects. And at the end of the President's year, guess where they were? in their office in the cellophane on the floor somewhere. So Rotary quit sending anything but president's manuals because they weren't used. But we're going to open this president's manual today, and I already took the cellophane off of all of them so you would get into them. If you don't have one, look on with somebody that does. It's called Lead Your Club. And the reason I didn't copy them and put them in the president nominees, they're probably going to change this manual before next year, so quite possibly some of the pages will be different.